this event will be recorded. So again, our Salsa Social is tomorrow at Southeast Campus YMCA in the studio. 6 to 7 is the salsa class, and dancing social is from 7 to 8. Please feel free to participate. It is a free event. And then the next one is there's a Healthy Kids Day. YMCA is hosting this on TCC campuses on Saturday, April the 29th, and your kids will get a free haircut on that day. So you can go to any TCC campuses to receive that. I will share this in the I will send you some invitation as we go. So okay, so Professor Sandra Rana is our speaker today. So here's your mic.
Okay, well, thank you very much for allowing me to speak with you. And the purpose of this particular PowerPoint and presentation is to talk about how to do a job search. And ideally right now is a good time to do a job search. Unemployment statistically is around 3 to 3.5%. You can't pass a fast food place without seeing a sign up looking for people to work, as well as larger employers who have lots of vacancies that they can't fill. Everything from the trade positions on up into professional positions, there just aren't enough employees available with the skills to do the jobs. So from that standpoint, it's a good time to be looking for work. Also, because there is such a shortage of available qualified workers, the salary levels, the compensation levels have tended to be higher than what they were in the past. So as someone who went through a recession and couldn't find a job getting out of college, I can tell you this is a much better time to be looking. First of all, we're going to look at self-examination, what you need to do to prepare to look for this job, how you're going to identify the employer and your presentation to the employer. And at the end, I don't have a slide on it, but I will give you some advice as to where you can look to see where the jobs are available. The old days of going through a newspaper are out the window. You may still be able to find a job that way, but mostly it's on websites now and other avenues, which we'll talk about later. So first of all, as I mentioned, there is a dramatic shortage. People have been moving around due to the pandemic. We're kind of starting to transition out of the pandemic. However, a lot of employers have noted, and I went to a workshop of employers recently, and they've noted that people are looking at continuing to be able to work at home on Zoom. First of all, because of the cost of childcare, also transportation costs, it's just easier to work from home. Some employers are getting creative about how they handle benefits. So larger organizations are actually offering to either subsidize or provide childcare at their facility. So there are a lot of options now that are helping the individual who's actually looking for a job. So the way to get started is to quit talking about looking for a job and actually to begin doing that. So that quote is not from my genius, it's from Walt Disney. So even Mickey Mouse knew you had to get up and get going to find that job. Self-examination is really important. You have to look at yourself first before you can identify the places that you want to apply. So what becomes important to you in your job search? What is the location of the position? And location of position is two things. One is geographical. Where is that job going to be in relationship to where you're at? And then the other thing is the location of the position within the organization. Are you starting out at entry level? Are you looking at something that will allow growth over a period of time? So those are the kinds of things you need to look at. What's the flexibility on the hours? One of the newer trends has been working at an office or a work location 2 or 3 days a week, and then working from home on Zoom the alternate days. And that's something to factor in, because if you're not having to pay for parking, if you're not having to pay transportation costs, perhaps childcare because the children can stay home with you, those are things to take into consideration. Compensation is always important. Not only the compensation for when you get hired, but how is it going to progress over a period of time? That's really important. And how do they translate that compensation? Is it done hourly? Is it a salaried position? Is it subject to overtime pay, shift differential? All of those things you need to ask. If you have to wear a uniform, do they pay for that uniform? If you have any special training that's required, do they help pay for that training? And what is the commitment to the organization if they pay for those things? So if you're taking a training course, do you have to commit to stay with them a certain length of time? So those are some of the things you need to think about in conjunction with compensation. Benefits are crucial. And usually it's tied to the number of hours that you work as well as the size of the employer. So in particular, the break point is usually around 32 hours of continuous work in order to be eligible for benefits. Due to the Affordable Health Care Act, most employers now either have to offer you health insurance or they have to help you go into the marketplace. Leave time becomes important also. You know, how much leave can you get? How long do you have to work there before you get that leave? So they're training, education. Some employers are getting creative and saying, hey, we'll pay off your student loans if you come work for us. And again, verify what your commitment is to that organization if you take that. We kind of talked about career growth and potential, the time off. Are you expected to be on call all the time, or are you going to have fixed hours? What's the stability of the organization? How long has it been in town? How long does it look like it's going to continue to be in town? What are the opportunities for transfer? Some people, once you get done with your program at TCC, you may want to go to another part of the country or another town. What's the opportunities to transfer? I have a good friend that I've known for many years. I actually knew her as a student, and she started with the Veterans Administration in Tulsa. And as she's moved around the country, she was able to transfer with the VA and continue her tenure, her length of service with them, and climb up the organizational ladder because she could move with that company, transfer wherever she went. That was important to her. And also, do you actually enjoy the tasks of the position? And I say that because I can guarantee you, you can make a lot of money if you'll change the light bulbs on top of one of those wind towers. Personally, I don't want to get 80 feet off the ground to change that light bulb. So, you know, how much are you going to actually enjoy that? If you're a person who likes to work alone, doesn't like to be a part of a team, then you need to consider that. If you don't like communicating with people, then a call service job is probably not for you. So those are the things you have to consider. And another thing is this an initial job? Is this a filler job? Is this a job that you want just temporarily? I mean, you don't necessarily tell the interviewer that, but is this something that you're doing right now when you're in school and you're looking at transitioning once you get your degree or certification? Because that makes a difference on the kinds of questions you're going to ask and the kind of job you're going to look for. personal inventory is very important. This is something where you put everything down. You might even want to set up an Excel spreadsheet to do this. List all the skills that you've ever had, whether you got paid for them or not. Everything, literally everything that you've ever done. List of all the abilities that you had to learn and utilize. List all of your knowledge. It doesn't necessarily have to be in a college or in school. Maybe it's your knowledge of another language. Maybe it's your knowledge that you got from a club or an organization or a hobby. Personal interests that you have. List all of those down in your personal inventory. List all of the certificates or license that you have received. Excuse me. List all leadership positions that you've had either on the job or community-based or at the college. And those leadership positions may have been taking in charge of an event. Maybe, excuse me, I'm so sorry. Maybe becoming active as a volunteer on a project. They're all indications of leadership. And then list all the position titles and job descriptions that you had, and then list all organizational memberships, whether they were voluntary ones, professional ones. List all of them, because you never know where there may be some skill or knowledge or ability you have, or it may trip something else that will be of help or assistance to you. So I know most students have to learn how to use Blackboard. You never know, an employer may need that skill set for a job that's not here at the college. So I'm just using that as an example. Also, kind of as a segue on the organizational memberships, as a student, you can join a lot of organizations as a student member. And I encourage students to join, if they're looking at a particular profession, to join that professional organization while they're still a student, because it will help. First of all, the cost is minimal. But number two, it gives you a chance to network, to find out what jobs may be available, who may be hiring. Now, you don't walk to that first professional meeting and say, hey, I'm looking for a job. Keep your ears and eyes open. Listen to what they're talking about. The other advantage of those organizations, in addition to the networking, is that often they provide free classes or webinars. And so you can keep current with what's going on in your profession. Items that may or may not be actually taught in the classroom because they're cutting edge. Okay. Resume. This is really important. You want to keep it a page or less. No pictures. Pictures are not your friend because they'll start judging you based on your picture. You want to be sure and list a current address where you know you're going to be able to hear from them, a current email address. And if you have an email address that's kind of cutesy, like I can't think of one right off, but you know, like Super Mario at, you know, whatever, you know, .cox. You don't want something like that. You want an email address that kind of sounds professional, and a phone number that you know that you can be reached at. And be sure and pick a phone number that's going to be professional. And the reason I say that is nothing would be worse than to have a child or somebody pick up the phone and it doesn't sound very professional. Once you list that phone number, be sure and always answer it with your name. Don't answer it with yeah, or who's there, or what's up, because you don't know who's on the other end of that phone. That becomes your first contact. Omit any indicators that might identify your age. So they don't need to know what year you graduated from high school. If you're an adult learner, and it's been a couple of years since you went to high school, there's not necessarily a need to mention that. Mention your most recent credentials in education. Try and avoid from identifying gender, race, and nationality. The one exception with that, particularly in Oklahoma, is if you're applying for a job with a tribe, with a Native American organization, they do have tribal hiring preference, and it is legal. So if you're a tribal member, just on that resume, put your CDIB number, because that will be helpful to you. But don't put it on anything else. You need to have resumes designed for each particular job that you're looking at applying for, not just a generic one that goes to everybody. And the design should be based on the position you're applying for. That's very, very important. Okay, so where do you look? Okay, newspapers, billboards. When I first put this on there, it was starting to happen, but now more and more you're seeing billboards, signs in places saying, hey, we're looking for employees. Data sites like LinkedIn, look at the website of the company that you're interested in applying to, because they will often have their jobs listed there. This is one that a lot of people are not familiar with, although it's the easiest one to go to. Oklahoma Employment Security Commission. This is a state agency. It's totally free to you. It's totally free to the employer. Nobody has to pay a fee for this. If an employer is receiving a federal contract, they have to post their jobs at this agency. So it gives you a full spectrum of jobs that are available, both in the public, private, and in businesses, and in the areas of government jobs and people who are receiving government contracts. You can go to for-profit employment agencies, but bear in mind, they're going to either ask you to pay part of the fee, which can be a lot of money, and you need to verify how much that's going to be before you sign anything, or the employer is paying that fee. So that's not one I would necessarily encourage, but it's certainly one to consider. College job centers. TCC has a wonderful college job center listing of jobs that are available in the area. Employers will sometimes come to the colleges and specifically go to them to look for candidates for positions. So I would definitely contact TCC, their job center. As I mentioned earlier, networking, people you know, your neighbors, your relatives, friends, colleagues, also the professional organizations. That's very, very key. Interview, be prepared, be on time, and know the organization. So that when you walk in, you can tell them what you know about that organization and why you're applying. And don't say, I'm applying because I need a job. Obviously you needed a job or you wouldn't apply. Why did you pick that organization? Find something that you can tell them that will illustrate that you know something about that organization and why you want to work for them. You know, cutting edge technology, opportunities for growth in my field. I mean, there's all kinds of answers you can give for that. Understand that once you enter that facility or even in their parking lot, you are already in the interview process. That receptionist at the front desk, you never know what she's going to tell them about what you said while you were waiting for that interview. So understand that that interview is not when you walk into the room to talk to the person or group of people. It actually begins the moment you step into that facility. Again, be sure your entire time is cleared of other obligations. If they're running late, you don't want to say, hey, I've only got 15 minutes. I've got to go to an appointment. Okay. You need to keep your calendar clear. Turn off your phone. No electronic equipment going while you're doing the interview. Formally introduce yourself. Give your full formal legal name and introduce yourself. If the interview is on Zoom, and I know a major recruiter out of Florida, they do all of their preliminary interviews by Zoom. It's only when they get to the last candidate that they do a face-to-face. If you're going to be doing Zoom, you need to be dressed accordingly. You need to have a background that is going to be plain, that's not going to be a distraction. You need to be certain that the space around you is a zone-free area where nobody's running in, you know, children, customers, cats and dogs. I saw over the weekend some commentator on a national show talking, and behind their bookcase, which looked very nice, you suddenly saw this cat crawling along the top of it. It was very distracting. Everybody was looking at the cat going across the bookcase and not at the person speaking. So you want to be sure there's no phones ringing, no music in the background. You know, try and keep it a very, very quiet zone if you're doing a Zoom call. Keep to the important information. Don't do too much chit chat. Chit chat can get you into trouble. Be careful of open-ended questions. Interviewers love to do it because it sets you up. You know, what do you think is your biggest weakness what skill is it that you don't have? What was the worst situation that you ever had in a workplace? Never speak poorly of a past employer. Never, because it means that you may talk badly about them in the future, and they don't want to do that. So it's really important to avoid those kinds of situations. Interviewers know that if you ask an open-ended question, you'll tell things about yourself that they would otherwise never find out. So they may not have known that your weakness is, well, you know, this job, I really didn't like it because we had to work with a team and I hate teams. Okay, you don't want to do that. Okay. And if they asked an open-ended question about, you know, what is it that you may need help with, you want to pick something neutral. You don't want to say, oh, I'm perfect, because then that indicates you're a little arrogant, and they may not want that either. You know, that you got a little bit of an ego. So try and pick something. I'm always willing to learn more. I want to improve myself. You know, pick something that's going to be neutral and kind of shut that down. Ask about a timeline for selection. What is their process going to be? And if it's not been mentioned already, ask about compensation and benefits. And at the end of the interview, always, always, always thank the interviewer for their time and for the interview. Now, there's an important piece here that I want to be sure you're aware of. Every job I ever interviewed for is the job I did not get. Okay, I know that sounds strange, but every job I interviewed for, I did not get that job. But because I had a good resume and I had a good interview, they had another job open up, they created a new position, something else happened, and I got called back for other jobs because of a good interview for the job I didn't get. Does that kind of make sense? So be prepared that even a no can turn into a yes. Be aware of that. Don't give it up. One place I worked, it was a temporary, it was a project contract job. I did the work for 6 weeks. They paid me for it. I went home. I thought, well, that's good. At least was I got 6 weeks work. I get a call later, a couple weeks, and they say, you know, we reviewed your project and we realize we really need this work done. We're going to create a department. We want you to come in and do it. That kind of thing that happened. So just be aware of a no is not always a no. Maybe follow up and say, hey, I interviewed for this job. I want and do it in a formal way. I want to thank you for that opportunity to interview. I understand that someone else was selected for the position, and I hope you will consider me in the future. I know it's old fashioned, but because it is old fashioned, many people don't ever see this. Either send them a thank you note, get a bunch of little thank you cards, or you can send an email, but emails tend to get lost. Thank you notes, people, they just don't get them anymore. So say, you know, I appreciate you interviewing for this position, name the position and the date you interviewed, so it'll click in their minds, they'll remember it. And I hope that in the future you would consider me for any other openings in your organization. Just don't give up. And in that Excel spreadsheet, have a list of all the names of the companies you talked to, the positions you applied for, the person you interviewed with, and the date. So you can refer back to that on an ongoing basis. The first job you get is probably not going to be the job that you're going to keep till you're 75 years old. Okay, it's a stepping stone. You get one job, you build that reputation, you build your experience, and then you can move on to the next one. So just kind of keep that in mind as you do that job search. And then again, if there's any questions that you have, don't hesitate to let me know through Joy. She knows how to get a hold of me, and I'd be happy to help any of you as you do your job search.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sandra Rana. We appreciate it. Next is our Q&A for Dr. Rana. If you have any questions, I do have a PowerPoint after that. So go ahead and feel free to ask her any questions if you have any.
When is it appropriate to ask the amount of pay?
Then toward the end of the interview, I'm sorry, am I muted?
Oh, you're not. Could you please repeat it? We missed the first part of your sentence.
When you are going through the interview, usually in the job posting, it'll show a salary range. And it is appropriate toward the end of the interview, when they get to that point, do you have any other questions? I would start with a question about the job itself, the organization, and a question about the timeline, and then ask them about the compensation. What is the intro salary for this position, or what are you anticipating to pay for this position?
Thank you. I was asking because I think back in the day, it used to be you never ask the rate of pay on the first interview, that you had to wait until you came back for the second one. So
I don't think that that's a hard, fast rule anymore, that you have to wait till the second interview. It
Okay.
depends on how you feel the interview's going and how comfortable you feel with it, but it's not an inappropriate question to ask.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I have another question. So is the interview In a conversation with someone, it was stated that they're not just interviewing you, but you're also interviewing them. Is that an appropriate way to look at a job interview?
Yes,
Okay,
definitely, because you may get into the interview and find that what you understood the job to be is not what you understood from the ad. There may be aspects to the position that you didn't know about.
so it's appropriate to ask them what the turnover rate is for the person who had the job last.
No, I wouldn't ask that question. What I would
Okay.
ask is what are the essential functions of the job? What are the expectations for this position? What are the growth opportunities for the position? And the growth will tell you like what kind of progression you can have within the organization. If there's no progression, then that could indicate a problem for you. If you're wanting progression, that's something in your own personal inventory you have to think about. There are some organizations you may, once you get in there and you go through the interview, you may decide that you really don't feel comfortable there. Now, you don't have to tell them that. Always end it on a positive note, thank you for the interview and everything. And then after you get home, you can make the determination in your own mind that, first of all, they may not even hire you. So why create a negative impression immediately? And then secondly, if they do offer you a job, you may say that you're no longer interested in the position. You don't have to tell them why.
What about talking to the receptionist about the job, saying just like small chatter?
Be careful of that, because she may be a direct pipeline and back to the interviewer.
Gotcha. Thank you.
One place I work, I've worked a lot of places. One place I worked, that's exactly what the receptionist did, because everybody liked the receptionist. So she was just such a sweetheart that the manager who was doing the hiring, when he came out and after the applicant left, and they said, well, how, he'd get around to finding out how it was like if they were kept waiting or while they were waiting. And if she said, boy, that person seemed really nice, then that was a point in your favor. If they came back and said, oh, they seemed really impatient, or they were on the phone, don't be on the phone, by the way, in the reception area. No personal phone calls once you hit that building, period. Then that was an automatic in the trash can kind of deal. Also on your resumes, just little things. Be sure there's no typing or spelling errors. That's really important. But yes, everybody you meet in that organization, you need to be aware that they could have a major impact in you getting hard or not hard.
Any more questions from this group? Thank you, Dr. Rana. I'm sure there will be follow-up questions after the meeting. The recording will be posted on our website. So thank you again. If anybody have questions, yes, have a great day. So next, I realized that there are a few new members, few parents coming on today. So I do have a PowerPoint here. Our main goal here, we are the students who are parent student organization. Veronica is the student president. She's been coming on since, organizing, helping with the student side of work since last semester, and she's the student president. So our goal is to supporting students who are parents through mentoring, coaching, and resources. I'm also the academic success coach. You may have received my email in the past. So my office location, Monday through Thursday, is at Northeast AB 206. And Friday, I'm at Southeast Campus. So my phone number is here. So if you need anything, please let me know. Throughout this semester, we have done so many activities. This is our close to the last one. This is our last speaker presentation. Initially, I had two speakers, Dr. Rana and another, let's see, Veronica is the doctor, the health doctor on? Is your friend on today? Okay, you're muted. Okay, I'm just gonna go over a few things.
Yeah.
Oh, she is?
I don't see her.
Oh, that's
Let me
okay.
see.
So one announcement here is tomorrow is our free salsa social. All student association students, parents can join. There's DJ Sammy is our dancing teacher. We've been having this for a few times. So the free class tomorrow starts at Southeast from 6 to 7, then dance social from 7 to 8. So since I'm announcing this now, I'm not gonna send you, if you need this email, I mean, the flyer, let me know, but it's gonna be a Southeast in the YMCA. The other important, good activity is the TCC YMCA Healthy Kids Day. Plus community open house. So you will learn a lot of free resources. It's gonna be April 29th. Veronica, it clashes with our activity. So this one is free to the public. On each campus, you can take your kids there to have a free haircut. So, and then in our office as success coach, I do all kinds of, we do all kinds of resource study strategies, time management, and we can support you through different ways. So the SWAP activities is one of the way I can contribute to help students. So if you need any resources, please let me know. This is the 12th week of your semester. So please check your Blackboard to see how you're doing. Make appointment with me. Again, I have a calendar, let's see, a Calendarly, or you can email me or make appointment there on your Starfish. If you click on Starfish, you see me. Let me see. So make appointment to go over certain things if you need help there. I can refer you to different resources. So one thing that some of the new members may not know is that we have, through a grant, we had purchased a weekend bag. You can rent out to be used for during the weekends. So inside those are age divided by age of your kids, and you have checkerboards and different books, thinking games. So make sure to email me if you're interested to check out one of those. Okay, so all right, so next is our short meeting from our e-board. So Veronica, do you have any announcement?
Yes, well, the only one I have right now is the one we are trying to do for the gathering for the 29 and Incredible
Mhm.
Pizza.
Okay.
To the new members that are attending, we're trying to do a gathering that is going to be sponsored by the Student Association from TCC. We're trying to do it for 15 members. However, we're still trying to squish it in our budget. We would like your feedback if there's something you're interested to do and you would like to attend.
So the only conflict of schedule is on that day, there's this YMCA Healthy Kids Day on campus. if anybody want to bring their kids to have a haircut, what time do they need to be at the Incredible Pizza?
The event will be at 1. I
Okay.
mean, at noon, it'll be from 1 to noon, from noon to 1.
From noon to 1? Okay.
Mhm.
So we're gonna have to have the active members RSVP for this event. Did you say the kids are, one kid is included in that?
One kid is included,
Okay.
yes, one
Yeah.
kid is
So
included.
Veronica is the student officer representative in the SGA, and you received the funding, right? We have received the funding this
We received the
semester
fund, yeah, we
Okay.
received the funding.
to
yeah.
cover this, plus our account balance we have there. So is there any questions? So Veronica, we'll talk about how we're gonna RSVP for this event. So hopefully all of you can utilize this chance to get to know each other and celebrate the end of the semester. Is there anybody graduating this semester? Okay, so we can, yeah, May is the end of the semester, so it's something to celebrate. You all are working hard towards the success of the story of the semester, right? So it's important that you celebrate it. I do have some success stories. We do have this. So if you I will send you lastly an intake resources for you to complete if you haven't done that. Let me know now if you're interested to have those resources. The lastly is TCC paid resource to detect your strengths and weakness in learning. It's something we can use for coaching. So these students are some successful stories we have coached. So, and the fact that you participate in this activity, in this meeting event, it's a good way that you're using TCC free resources. So the student organization here is called Student Who Are Parents Swap. We do have a free website that has the recording of some major events with speakers. If you Google search TCC SWAP, SWAP, it will come up. The recording is scroll down to the bottom of the page. You see all the past recordings together with some resources we have posted on the website. Any questions, everyone? Okay, if not, I'm not gonna take, it's been an hour, so we appreciate everybody participating. And